Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new revenge stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The first one is titled, "Don't Want to Pay Me and Would Rather Make Me Wait?" I don't do business like that. My grandfather had been retired for a bit after getting hurt on his job at the railroad. Being a little bored at the time, he offered a local indie VW shop owner his time to run for parts and other errands in exchange for some help on his VW. So my grandfather returns to the shop in the afternoon one day to find Jay, the owner of the shop, mingling and acting pretty upset, and he asks him what was up. The story went that Jay had just rebuilt and installed a motor to do a customer, and when the guy picked up the car in the AM had paid with a check. This was not uncommon at the time, being circa 1980. When Jay went to cash the check at lunch, the bank informed him that payment on the check had been stopped. He asked them when he had just received it a few hours ago. They told him just about this morning. So apparently the owner of the car paid the bill and went to the bank and immediately cancelled the check. Jay called the guy on the phone and asked him what the hell happened, why was the check cancelled? The guy said, "You made me wait for my car, so I'm going to make you wait for the money." What had happened was one of the parts for the engine had been delayed a few days and Jay couldn't finish the job when initially promised, but as soon as the part came in, he put the engine back together and got the guy his car back. Needless to say, Jay was upset. It's Friday and he wanted to wrap things up a little early, and getting paid for an engine rebuild was a nice wrap to the week. Now the revenge. Jay asked my grandfather to come with him. He grabbed a few tools and he hopped in his little pickup, a VW of course, and off they went. Jay drove over the guy's house, knowing where he lived based on him being a customer and having the address on the cancelled check. Pulled up to the guy's house and proceeded to remove the engine from the car in about 10 minutes. While this might seem unbelievable if you ever worked on an old air-cooled VW, they are literally held in by 4 bolts, a couple of screws, and a few wires, and a good mechanic could have one out in no time at all. After it was removed, my grandfather helped him put the motor in the back of the truck. While a little bulky, a complete VW motor is not that heavy. Now the revenge. After they had the motor loaded up, Jay wrote a note and left it under the wiper. "When you decide to pay me, just add in an extra $1 to pay for the removal and replacement of the engine and for the time it took me to come over here and get it." And they drove off. The next one is titled, "This is Why You Don't Mess with a Marine." A friend told me about a guy he knew named Ben, and how he met out some crazy revenge. Ben was driving himself down Johnson Road. Now Johnson Road was one of those uncommon roads in suburbia that were kind of narrow. As he was driving, there were these 3 teenagers, 16, 17 and 19, walking shoulder to shoulder along the road with their backs to him. Not trying to hit them, Ben moved to the far left side to avoid them and give them enough safe space. Turns out it was a ruse by those 3 kids to get cars to pass along them just like that. When he passed by them, they took out baseball bats they were hiding and started smashing his car as he passed. Took out his side mirror and minor damage. Ben wasn't too happy, so he pulled over and got out of his car to address this. Not too smart since it's already 3-1, but you'll understand in a minute. The 3 kids see him and realize their advantage and start charging at him, bats raised. Now here's where it gets good. Ben pulls out a gun and tells them all to freeze. Turns out Ben's a retired Marine with a concealed weapons permit. The 3 kids freak out and stop dead in their tracks, arms raised. Ben directs them to get on their knees, lay face down, and keep their arms and legs spread out. Now this was back in 2000 when cell phones weren't as common, but Ben happened to have one. He called the cops on the kids right then and there. He said, "My name is Ben, I'm on Johnson Road and 3 teenagers just attacked my car and threatened to attack me. I am carrying a gun with a permit and have them on the ground and subdued. I need an officer to come by here as I am pressing charges and I want them arrested. When the officer arrives, I am the one with the gun and I will follow his instructions." The kids start begging for him to let them go, cursing each other, and probably giving sob stories, but Ben's not listening. The cop arrives, orders Ben to put down his gun, which he does, and then it gets better. Turns out the cop is a retired Marine too. He hears Ben's statement, sees the evidence, and then they have this exchange. Cop: so they came right at you? Ben: yes. Cop: and you didn't shoot them? Ben: no, they listened to my commands so I didn't see the need. Cop: that what they're teaching now? The cop then looks at the three kids and says, you're lucky you got him and not me, I'd have shot all three of you, coming at me with bats. If this guy would have shot all three of you dead, told me what happened, I'd send him on his way. So the three kids get arrested and the cop tells the two youngest that they're probably going to screw up their lives if they keep this up. He tells the 19-year-old that he's over 18 and an adult, so it's too late for him, he's going to jail for this. Then it gets better. They all end up in court and, as it turns out, the judge's son is currently in the Marines. He tells the other two that they're going to be tried as adults too, and eventually all three go to jail for the maximum sentence our state allows for this crime. Quote, the next one is titled, They Are Called by Laws for a Reason. So, about 4 months ago I moved into a new condo in downtown Denver. I fully expected some added noise and got it. The shuttles on the 16th Street Mall, an occasional horn from the light rail stations nearby, even the occasional homeless guy in my alley. What I didn't expect was garbage trucks in my alley, banging dumpsters, and blaring their backup alarms at 4 a.m. I live on the 5th floor, and it wakes me up with the windows closed, so I'm not really sure how my neighbors deal with it on the lower floors. Enter my mild interest in all matters legal, and I learned that Denver Revised Municipal Code Chapter 36, Section 7 specifically states, waste stream equipment and activities. No person shall operate any waste stream equipment nor conduct any waste stream activities on any premises adjoining to or across the street or alley from residential receptor premises between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. For clarification here, a residential receptor premises is defined as a dwelling unit receiving noise. So, being the nice guy the first am, I fired off an email to the two offending garbage companies politely asking if they could do their pickups after 7 a.m. since like city code required. I told them I understood that it was easier to do it early to avoid traffic, but 4 a.m. was too early. Company 1 apologized and it got better for a week. Company 2 ignored me, but their drivers started backing up the alley blaring their backup alarm while yelling and slamming dumpsters. After it picked back up, I filed noise complaints with the city. They responded and said, keep records and file new complaints each time. I did so, but filing new tickets and emailing them back got no response, so on Friday of last week, I emailed my city council person, who responded yesterday and asked if I was still having issues. I told him I was still having issues, and he assured me he'd get it taken care of. I'm guessing some awkward phone calls were had with the Department of Health employee who was ignoring my emails and tickets, because today I got a call from the head of the Denver Health Department noise panel. He told me that, given the ample video evidence I provided, I recorded each pickup on a YouTube channel showing the company, date, and time. They just issued a $999 citation to Company 2, and any further pickups from either company would result in additional $999 citations for each pickup. These pickups are daily, so I'm hoping that it stops. I guess if it doesn't, it's going to get quite expensive for them. Edit, 7:12 a.m. and no garbage trucks to be heard. The first full night of sleep I've had since August. Will be donating to my city council person's re-election campaign. The next one is titled, Don't Try to Take Advantage of the Painter Guy because I'll get in the last word. A little bit of backstory, I'm running a painting business over the summer as a junior in college to pay for school. My prices are pretty fair as I hire college students and have a deal with Sherwin-Williams as a contractor to get cheaper paint and materials. Anyways, a potential client, we'll call her PC for pretentious XXX, scheduled an estimate with me about a month and a half ago for an interior bathroom job and a deck stain. I tell her the times I'm available, but she absolutely pushes for a time where I would have to rush over from a job site, do a hurried estimate, then run home to grab a bite of dinner before going to previously scheduled estimates. I'm a bit miffed, but I said duck it. Sales is hard, I should learn how to bend over backward for clients. So I show up to do the estimate, and the whole time I'm getting my numbers together, she is talking me down, telling me how if she ran a business as I did, she would be fired from her big shot marketing job immediately, and how I should be dressed better to respect the client. What I did to offend Her Majesty was I moved her plants to the side to be able to measure the deck better, and I came to the estimate in paint-stained clothes since I had run over directly from the job site. So I present the price of about $800 with a 10% day of estimate discount to book up the season, and she says she needs a few days to consider it. Okay, fair enough, right? I'll extend the discount a few days for her. So I come back a few days later expecting a yes or no answer, and she sits me down and starts to haggle with me. At this point, I'm tired enough already from working in the sun all day and just want some food to stop the rumbles. After I give her another 5% discount just to close the job, she continues to haggle with me, saying, the highest we can go is $600. When I finally tell her I can't go any lower on the job or I would actually lose money on it, she tells me that she got an estimate from another local company for $500 and that she wouldn't want me to match it because she wants to support the local community. At this point, I'm exhausted and my brain is barely keeping me breathing, but that price point doesn't sound right to me. I calculated my price based on a small profit, labor, and materials. Now I pay my painters $13 an hour and I hire college students. So if the other company is charging way less, they either pay their career painters even less, minimum wage where I am is $11, or the quality of paint is much lower. So I ask PC if they remember what paint the other company said they would use, and she says she doesn't recall. Fair enough, paint names are hard to remember if you don't see them that often. Then I ask if I could see their estimate contract to try to figure out why they were so much cheaper than I was. PC says that they didn't have an estimate sheet. Now, this is a big no-no in any contracting business because you have to keep track of numbers, budgeted hours, etc. Now alarm bells are ringing in my head, so I set a firm amount on the price of the previous estimate with the additional 5% discount, which means that I make a measly $5 per hour I personally work on the job. PC finally agrees on the price, saying, it's just $50. I can't see why you can't just give us more discount. At my big shot marketing job, I would give the customer a discount without hesitation, forgetting that the discount would be coming out of my broke college student pockets, not a big corporation, and B, I already told her that I would only be getting about $5 per hour on the job. Even though she wants to support the local community, she asks if we take credit, but there is a 5% credit card fee that would come out of my already tiny slice of profit, so I ask for a check, which I told her we prefer during the original estimate. She tells me that she uses Chase, which doesn't have a branch near us, and that the nearest one is in New York. We are about half an hour from Boston. What? Therefore, she cannot use a check because she would have to order the checkbook from New York. I think, alright, fine. I guess some people these days don't have a checkbook. I reiterate that I will lose money on the job at that price point with the 5% fee tacked on, and that I can wait until the checkbook arrives. So I tell her that she can message or call me when the checkbook arrives, and I can drive back to collect the deposit and have her sign the contract. On the way out, she tells me that the job needs to be finished before a certain date because she was having guests over. I explain to her that when I receive the deposit, I'll lock her in for a power wash of the deck, which will need about a week to dry. We can stain it in one day. She mutters, something, I can find the checkbook by tomorrow. Come on now, she just admitted to lying to me about having to order a checkbook from NY. So I say that's fine, let me know tomorrow afternoon so I can come by and finalize the contract. When I get home, I decide to search up Chase branches near me on Google because I found it really strange that there wasn't one closer than New York, especially since we were pretty close to Boston. I kid you not, there was a Chase branch 14 minutes from her house. Now I'm upset. I don't know what else she lied to me about, so I call up my friend whose dad owns the company she talked about. He calls me later that day and says that he never did an estimate with her name or address. I send her a message over Facebook Messenger. I do a lot of posts in local yard sale groups for exposure for my company, so I set up estimates through Messenger and called her out about the Chase branch, the check, and the estimate from the other painting company. She goes off. Here are a few memorable quotes from her rant. "You don't have the right to insult me like that. This is just your first year running a business and I've been working at big shot marketing job for years now. It doesn't matter what I pay you because you're young and money doesn't matter to you right now. My Facebook post literally says that I am running this business to pay for college, and my personal favorite, you people should be grateful that I even pay you $5 an hour for your work. I'm Chinese." At this point, I'm ready to just block her and go to bed angry, but I have an epiphany and just hear "big shot marketing job" echo through my head. I take screenshots of the messages she sent me and slapped them along with a lengthy description of what happened in an email and sent copies to whatever email addresses I could find associated with the big shot marketing company. I get an email back a couple of days later from a different address than the ones I wrote to previously, basically saying "Thank you for reaching out to us. This type of behavior is unacceptable and we will be conducting an internal investigation into PC." I think to myself, that'll be the last of it, I guess. Just today, I was messaging another old client and came across PC's conversation with me. I go to her profile and in the intro for her profile it now says "works at self-employed." The last one is titled, "Won't shut up for us? Maybe you will for them." My wife and I had a first-floor condo in what had previously been a nice complex. Unfortunately, over time the couple who lived above us, hereafter designated AA for angry alcoholic and AAG for angry alcoholic girl, began drinking heavily, or maybe they just got louder about their drinking. Nearly every night became a massive screaming match between them. They'd stay up until 2 a.m. shouting at each other at the top of their lungs, and then one of them would put on music at top volume to drown out the other. Their taste in music wasn't actually bad, but when it's 2 a.m. and my floor is vibrating, it's a problem. Sometimes they'd even take their fight out into the parking lot, just to be sure all the neighbors were treated to a detailed explanation of who had cheated on who recently, both, and who was threatening to dump who and leave right now. Neither of them ever actually left, they just went out to their car and threatened to, loudly. Then in the mornings, he would work on his car in the carport right outside our front door. As far as I can tell, all he did was sit there and rev the engine for, it seemed, hours on end. I have no idea when he slept, maybe while we were at work. We and other neighbors complained to the condo board, who issued a warning, which AA and AAG ignored. Eventually, the condo board started fining them, but AA found a genius solution: just don't pay the fine. All the condo board could do was, eventually, put a lien on AA's condo, but that would only become a problem for him when he sold the place. Apparently, they couldn't actually foreclose on him, or maybe they just didn't want to go to the trouble. Trying to talk to him directly was useless. If we managed to catch him during a rare moment of sobriety, he'd just kind of blow us off, but if we caught him while he was drunk, he'd get pretty threatening and was then even louder for a few days. We even tried calling the police, but they weren't really interested unless he actually crossed the line into a felony. They gave him a few warnings, which he also ignored. Maybe if he'd actually beaten me or one of my other neighbors up, they'd have done something, but none of us felt like getting into a fight to find out. Plus there was always the risk that the cops would arrest everybody involved in the fight on general principles, and none of us wanted an arrest record. Eventually, my wife and I decided to sell our condo and move, for multiple reasons that definitely included AA and AAG. Because of the timing of our move, our realtor wound up actually showing the condo while we were home a couple of times, and we discovered that one of the potential buyers was a city police officer, her husband, and their 1-year-old baby. I guess their old place was too small now that they had a kid. Unfortunately, their offer was $3,500 below the top offer. After talking it over, we told our realtor to accept their offer anyway, and we'd just eat the loss. So AA and AAG had a cop move in directly below them. I'm Facebook friends with a couple of our old neighbors, and in the 6 months since we moved, AA has been arrested multiple times and had his car impounded at least once. Apparently he's now trying to be quieter, but that only lasts until he gets drunk and then he's screaming again, and his new downstairs neighbor has long ago had enough of his crap, and does not appreciate it if he wakes up her kid. And I guess she also doesn't appreciate it if he shouts at her. He's in an obnoxious neighbor war with a cop, and he's losing badly. Hopefully, soon he'll wind up in jail for longer than a couple of days. Thanks for listening.